I definitely wouldn't say that I've got it all figured out when it comes to relationships, but here is what I think is most important in having the most conscious, healthy relationship possible in today's day and age. Number one, I feel like relationships are super one-sided, and that might not really make a lot of sense because a relationship involves two people. But if you're constantly thinking about what the other person should be doing or how they should be in the relationship, you're kind of getting away from what the relationship actually is. You choose how much you want to put into it, and you kind of just have to accept whatever comes back. So it's always up to you whether you want to be in that relationship or not, which makes it one-sided. And that's not just for like romantic relationships either. This is for like any kind of relationship. Number two, I feel like being really understanding is key to like a successful relationship of any kind, especially a romantic relationship with someone you live with. You have to be understanding that AC just turned on. Anyways, you have to be understanding. You never know kind of like what the other person's going through. Even if you know them, like you know them so well, you don't necessarily know everything. Everybody's gonna have off days, everybody's gonna have on days. And so part of being in a healthy relationship, which is kind of into my number three, is learning when to be selfish. So that might sound like it's not really great relationship advice because you kind of have to be selfless in a relationship, but learning the correct ways of when you need to like do you, that is what's key in like a healthy relationship. Because if you're constantly trying to please the other person, think about the other person, you kind of forget in yourself, and then you're left with this like stagnant energy inside of you because you've been giving so much. We have two aspects of who we are. The masculine energy, that's the giving, and the feminine side that is more of like the receiving energy. And so we want to constantly be balancing those out. So you have to be learning, okay, am I giving too much? Am I receiving too much? And how can I make that shift so that like I'm A1? So sometimes you have to know, all right, let's just say for me, I'm with a guy, so this is my situation, but this could be you with anybody. Male, female, 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 male, male, whatevs. Whatever makes you happy. Where was I going with that? Sometimes you come home and you're super excited to be with your loved one. You're like, hey, how's it going? And they're just kind of like giving you like shade, and you can tell they kind of just want some space. That's probably a good time to be selfish. Go take that yoga class you wanted to take. Go try that smoothie place you wanted to try. Go to the gym, get out, do you, and balance yourself. And then usually by the time you get back, things are settled and then they're ready to be around. You know, you can't always expect people to be ready and willing to be on the same vibe as you because you don't know the other kind of vibrations that they might have experienced throughout the day when they're not with you. Number four, it's very important to learn the difference between attachment and love. They can look very similar. They can feel very similar, especially in the beginning when things are like spicy and passionate. You wanting to be with your significant other 24/7 and you just want to talk to them all the time and you want to see them. That's sounding a lot more like attachment. Attachment is when you feel that they are a part of your identity. They are a part of you, and so you have to have them around. It's kind of like when you're controlling them, when you're feeling like you have to change them in a certain way, they have to live up to a certain kind of like idea or whatever it is that you have in your mind. And love is when you can just like honor that person even in their like darkness. You can enjoy them no matter what vibe that they're on, no matter what experience they're going through. Learning the difference between love versus attachment are going to help you with smooth sailing. If you find yourself attached and you're like, oh shit, I think I'm attached to this person, I don't know if I actually love them, it's a good time to kind of like take a step back and evaluate the relationship. Number five, communication is key. I know you're waiting for it. Communication is everything when it comes to a relationship. Not just when you're angry and when you're feeling something. You have to talk about things all the time. Part of communication is knowing when is the best time to communicate. Some people need some what's called cooling off time. If you just had like a heated kind of like conversation or argument, it's probably not the best time to bring up everything that you've been feeling towards the person. It's probably a good time to just cool off. I know for me and my partner, it's really good for us to go our separate ways for a little bit and then come back and then like really be able to talk things through. I think I get like a much better response from him and vice versa when we've had that time to just kind of like chill out for a second. Part of communication is also learning how is the best way to speak to your partner. For some people, you can just have a conversation and go back and forth and whatever. And for others, you have to like continue to check back in with yourself. I know as women, like I can speak more off of like a male-female kind of situation, or just as a woman in general. I know that when we have an experience, we really want to like talk about everything, and we want to figure everything out, and we want to know every detail, and we'll talk to our girlfriends about it, we'll talk to the person that does our nails, we'll talk to the person that does our hair, we talk to everybody about our problems, whereas like guys don't always necessarily do that. So I know for me in my relationship, it really helps me when I would go into it as calm as possible, making sure that when I'm talking, I'm breathing and I'm taking slow, steady breaths, and I'm approaching him in a way that he feels is non-aggressive. When I'm coming at him and I'm like, I just don't understand why you would do this, like all this body language of like tense energy building up, I don't really get the best response. Like obviously, I feel like that's with girls too. You probably wouldn't get a good response either. The more calm you can stay and not really get tied up in your the better that you're going to be able to communicate exactly what you're feeling. You get so caught up in your emotions, you might end up saying something that you didn't mean, you didn't really want to say. It doesn't really work out that great. If you notice that while you're trying to communicate and the person just keeps getting super defensive and just like kind of like not really hearing you out, that's probably a good time to take a cooling off period, and that's probably like a good indicator that like the cooling off that you did wasn't long enough. This is kind of number 6, but it's also still part of communication. Regularly focus on, okay, what are my intentions? What do I need to receive out of a relationship? What is my idea of an amazing relationship? Because if you start to realize, oh, this person wants something different than what I want, the relationship might not be working anymore. And sometimes it's good if you like write down what you want in a partner and have them write down what they want in a partner and then swap. And sometimes it's like the things that your partner wants are like achievable for you, and so you can kind of like work with that. But if you don't know, or if you only just talked about it in the beginning of your relationship, things change, especially after like the honeymoon period. Honeymoon period is like over. Bridging off that as well is checking in with each other's goals. And this is kind of like number 7. It's similar in asking, what are my goals? What does my partner want to achieve? And then setting goals together, whether that's in your relationship or just like fitness goals or something you want to do every day. Maybe you want to get up and meditate every day together, or you want to have a date night, or you want to take a day where you do stuff separately, or you know, something along those lines. Just setting goals, individual goals and goals as a couple, I think are really healthy to kind of like help give your relationship something special. Number 8, kind of like 2 concepts, learning like your love language. Acts of service, so when your partner just kind of like does something out of the blue for you, helps you with chores, does something that helps or makes you feel good. Quality time, so just time spent together when it's just you two, whether that's playing a video game together, going on a walk together, going on a date. Physical touch, and this doesn't always have to be sexual. This can just be like a hug or holding hands or cuddling or whatever. Some people, that's their love language. Receiving gifts, gifts are always great, but not really my thing. But yeah, for some people, getting unexpected gifts, they don't always have to be like super expensive, but maybe for some people that's how they feel really loved. And lastly is words of affirmation, so just saying nice things to make you feel really good. So those 5 types of love languages is how people kind of receive their love. A lot of it stems from like our childhood and how we were loved and the experiences that we've had. Based off of that, you might have a different love language than your partner, and that doesn't mean that you guys aren't gonna work. I've heard like friends and family say,
well, I bought her flowers, I took her here, I did this with her, I did that.
And the other partner just doesn't feel loved still, because all they really wanted was those acts of service, them to just do the dishes for them or help out around the house, or they just needed a little bit of extra encouragement. Babe, you're doing great, or something like that. So learning your partner's love language and what helps them feel really good is what's going to help you love them in the best way. Not necessarily with the love languages. I heard this phrase of how your cup feels full. I feel really good when me and my partner are doing things together. We're going on a hike or we're going somewhere, just doing stuff together, getting out of the house basically. But for my partner, really enjoys like his alone time. So I know like the time that I give him to like just play video games on his own uninterrupted, he feels really stoked and he's really happy after that. Everybody's different, everybody works differently, and you just have to find what works for them and what works for you and communicate that. Number 9. So I think this is really important to know about relationships, especially long-term relationships, is that every single relationship, including friendships, family ships, and romantic partnerships, they all have highs and lows. That's okay. You just kind of have to like ride those waves and get yourself through it. You don't need to share everything that's going on in your relationship with everybody around you. Just because you have like a little bit of an argument with your significant other doesn't mean you need to like right away call your best friend and tell everybody of like exactly this is what he did and this was this. Honestly, that's just like the ego trying to feed itself and trying to build itself up because it feels like it needs to be told that it's right. So look out for that and be really aware of that, because you don't want to be spreading all of this like bad negative energy when you're in that bad place, because tomorrow you might wake up and you guys forgive each other, and then when you go back to that friend, they kind of have like a different opinion of your significant other. So learning when is the right time to like share kind of like these intimate moments that you have with your partner. It's best to keep things just like between you guys and just keep that, it's you guys, you're a team. Telling other people all of your drama, then you're involving other people in the stuff that's like doesn't need to happen. However, if you feel like you've been like in a loop and you're reoccurring the same issues and you're not sure how to do it, maybe that's a good time to ask for advice. You don't want to ever be like bringing the person down. Catch yourself always putting the person down, always complaining to other people, then you're probably stuck in an attachment loop and it's time to get out. Number 10, definitely most important, check in with yourself. Make sure that the issues that you're constantly having a problem with, you're constantly complaining with, aren't something that you are creating yourself. A lot of times we kind of blame our partner. It's easy, like something happens, like let's say, for example, you're doing the dishes, one of the dishes was left up, you had already asked your partner to put them away, you're picking up the dishes and you put them in there, you just so happen to bump that dish that was left there and it breaks. Instantly your mind goes, oh, if so-and-so would have just like put this away like I asked, blah, 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 this is all his fault. When in reality, you're the one that knocked the dish over, you feel me? So sometimes we project how we're feeling because we aren't feeling like we're getting enough of our love. We're not receiving the love that we need to. And so if you can communicate how you're feeling with your partner and things still aren't changing, check in. Ask yourself, like, is this me? Am I the one that's creating this? Or is it actually the other person? And sometimes it is the other person, but 9 times out of 10, you're the problem. A mantra that I feel is really fitted for this situation is, I am not the victim, I am the creator of every single situation in my life. I am creating everything with my thoughts, with my words, and with my actions. If I'm constantly thinking that my partner isn't enough, guess what? They're not gonna be enough. If I'm constantly thinking like, oh, they never do the dishes, they don't do this, they're lazy, this, I'm manifesting that. Or sometimes I'm being an asshole and so I project my energy onto the other person and then they're seeming like an asshole because I'm actually being an asshole too. So, moral of the story, check in, make sure you're not the actual problem. Ask yourself what really matters. Pick your fights. Not everything is that big of a deal. Take some time, think about it for a little bit, sleep on it. If it's still bothering you the next day, do something about it. I feel like this wasn't even great advice. I don't know. If you liked what I had to say and you watched the whole thing, thank you. Please comment below if you have any other relationship advice, things that have worked for you, things that haven't worked for you. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to do more sit-down videos where we just kind of get real personal. Oh, I just got like a headache. Like, what? Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I love you. Stay savage.
Break, come tired,